and I'll be adding people as we go. Okay, hello again. My name is Sohaila Bana. Thank you very much for attending our quarterly meeting of the West Contra Costa Fire Safe Council. We really appreciate your time. I believe I'm recording, right? Yes, I am recording. Okay, very good. Thank you. So we go on the agenda, so hopefully we can finish on time. We start with the announcements. I was hoping to see Alan here to personally congratulate their Kensington Fire Safe Council, who is newly established, but I guess Alan is not here yet. The other announcement is John here, or if John is not here, Henry, would you like to provide a brief update about East Bay Fire Safe Alliance in collaboration with county coordinators in a minute?
Yes,
Thank you.
whenever you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so East Bay Fire Safe Alliance are the 6 or perhaps now 7 fire safe councils, plus the Claremont Canyon Conservancy. We've asked the 2 county coordinators to join us in a meeting. These are California Fire Safe Council county coordinators, so it seemed logical that we include them in our group. And we'll see how it evolves. Perhaps they'll become permanent participants in the alliance.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And just an update on my end, as a chair of West Contra Costa Fire Safe Council and a member of the Alliance, we're trying to reach out to other fire safe councils and make the Alliance even a larger group alliance, even stronger, as we're trying to build some political muscles and hopefully get more budget for our fire safe councils. So, and this item is in for discussion. We need your advice. But for now, we have a presentation. We have 2 brief presentations from East Bay Regional Parks District. Again, I would like to ask everyone, I welcome everyone. Thank you so much for your time. For the sake of networking, if you could put down your name and agency's name on your video, that'd be awesome. So, Chief Healy, could you please talk about East Bay Regional Parks policy for park closure on red flag days? Because we requested it, and the answer is that there is no written policy, but they practice it. So we appreciate an update and how we can proceed.
Yeah, and that's partially incorrect. So we do have a procedure on park closures. The request that came into the Park District was that can we automatically close, it was Kennedy Grove and Sobrani Ridge and Wildcat Canyon on red flag days. Park District has a procedure for closing parks, and there's different categories. For example, extreme fire weather, which would be a red flag day. Access, repeated wildfire, critical utility closures. There's all these criteria, but there's a procedure. And what that procedure is that there's a recommendation that goes to the park closure team, which is all of our assistant general managers of the different divisions. And those people make a recommendation to the general manager. And if the general manager approves a park closure or a partial park closure, then it starts our communication chain to the various departments in the district, for public safety, park operations, reservations, external affairs, public affairs, all of our different departments. It contacts reservations, it puts information on our website, it sends, it gets signage and other material needed for rangers to do those things. And once all that's done, at the end of the day, what's really being closed is the parking lot. Parks don't have a perimeter border of a fence that keeps people out. So all we're doing is closing our parking lots. Our parks are porous, and so people are still going to be able to come and go through all the different connecting trails. And so there is a procedure for it, but because we're an extremely complex district and there's lots of notifications, there's weddings that can be interrupted when people have had years of planning for these things, all these things occur when we close parks, and so there's a procedure for all of that.
I asked previously if you could have a copy of that policy or procedure so we can study it and provide feedback because we are concerned about it. Henry, if you could make your question quick. I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I just lowered it. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and I reached out to the deputy general manager about that question. Currently, we have one document that's meant for internal use and not for public facing, and it would be they believe it would be confusing because it's not meant for the public, so the terminology and the things that are in there would be appropriate. And so they're supposed to get back to me if that's something that they can come up with. But what I verbally told you is the procedure. There's a recommendation that goes to the any assistant general manager, and those people are part of the park closure team. They get together, make a recommendation. That goes to the general manager. Only the general manager has authority to close a park and to reopen a park.
Thank you. We believe it's very important for for educating the public to have, fire danger level hands at the entrance of the park and closure on red flag day. So we'll be following up. I'm glad you're going to provide it. Thank you so much. Henry, you have a question or not?
Yeah, I raised it again. It's really a comment. I would recommend that the procedure be for extreme fire weather or PDS days only. We have lots of red flag days, but every catastrophic fire in the West has occurred on a PDS or an extreme fire danger day, and there are many fewer of those days. And Oakland and Berkeley have actually closed Grizzly Peak Boulevard on some of those days. And I would think this would be an interagency, intercity effort to basically close the park, including the roads that lead into the park and that are along the side of the park, like Wildcat Canyon Road. The park district can't do that. It would have to be collaboration among the cities and the fire departments to do that. And it would only be 1 or 2 days a year. We would basically limit access to traffic on streets that lead in and out of the park. It's just a comment.
Yeah, and I
Excellent.
just wanted to give one more update. And on next Monday, we have a meeting with Senator Grayson's team because he's interested in this same issue. I'll be at that meeting, but I don't have any other information about that. And then lastly, there was a request to have high fire danger signs at Sobrani Ridge and Candy Grove. So I passed that information on to the park supervisor. In general, we're supportive of that because that's community outreach. It makes a lot of sense to us, but it's easy for me to recommend that. It's harder for the park supervisors to implement that because their staff is the one that has to maintain those signs. So that supervisor has passed that up to their boss to find out if that's something that they can accommodate. The concern isn't Candy Grove. The concern is Sobrani Ridge, which is more frequent just by a local community. And it sounds like the park staff doesn't have that same type of flexibility for that location. But more to come on that once I get the update.
Thank you. And as I said, we do have volunteers who are more than happy to help if needed with adjusting the hand on the signs. But regarding the policy that you have in place or procedure, we want something on paper, written, a record that shows it doesn't depend on the person who's in charge. If they're on vacation, is it going to happen? If they leave, somebody else comes. Something that we can count on. As long as we're provided with that, we'll be happy. Thank you very much. And let's follow up after your meeting with Senator Grayson. I would like to thank East Bay Regional Parks for their collaboration. Actually, when we asked East Bay Mud for a similar thing, they said we follow what the East Bay Regional Park District does. So there's close collaboration between East Bay Mud, East Bay Regional Parks, which is awesome, great. We've also been in touch with East Bay Mud regarding water pressure levels at fire hydrants in very high fire hazard severity zone. They provided to us, most of them are okay, some of them are below the threshold of 20. Then Chief Bachman informed me that in addition to the water pressure, we need to have appropriate water flow. So I'm glad that we have Damon from East Bay Mud to provide some information regarding water flow at fire hydrants in rural areas. Damon, please.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the council for having me today. I am Damon Hom. I'm the superintendent responsible for water system operation
Hi, Wiley. It's John.
at
Did you just call me?
East Bay Municipal Utility District. I'm here to quickly discuss what we currently have and what we plan to have available for hydrant operational data in our service area. Really quickly, I'm going to bring up, let's see, got this guy. Can you guys all see that?
Almost, yes, we can.
Okay, great. So East Bay Mud created this map showing the hydrant static pressure in the state and local fire hazard severity zone communities on the western portion of East Bay Mud service area, from Crockett and Rodeo in the north, down through Richmond, El Cerrito, Oakland, down to San Leandro and Castro Valley in the south. And this was created in response to a request by the East Bay Wildfire Coalition. So if you dig into one of these individual maps, it shows, I'm going to find a map here. And this is in the city of Pinole. This is actually the street that I grew up on Victor Street right here. There's, I'm not sure if you can really see it, but I can try to zoom in here. But there are some hydrant pressures here. Each one of these dots represents a hydrant, and then the number here is the static pressure. The pressure data in pounds per square inch, or PSI, is calculated based on East Bay Mud's typical facility operation and the hydrant's elevation within the respective zone. And when I talked about where the hydrant is in the zone, Victor Street along this little stretch right here rises in elevation pretty steeply. It goes from a low elevation here to a higher elevation. So as when the hydrant is at a lower elevation, it has a little bit higher pressure than the ones that are higher up on the hill. The actual pressures that you see here are based on, or the pressures here are based on calculated values, but the actual pressures will vary based on whatever the changing system conditions are. And pressures could be lower in real life if water demand is very high on that particular day or in that particular area, or if there is an active fire going on that's drawing down a lot of the pressure by moving a lot of water demand.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Damon. We had a presentation, we received a presentation about water pressure before. The presentation today is supposed to be about water flow?
Oh, yes. Okay, so I wanted to give that as a little bit of background. So we have this map available on our eastbaymud.com website, available to the public. So that's what we have currently. So the next thing that I have is move something here. The next thing I have is something that we are working on, but is not quite ready for public viewing yet. It's a development of this dashboard. It's a public-facing dashboard, and this application is currently being developed, currently in progress. It's a geographic information system, or GIS application, that visually displays all of East Bay Mud's fire hydrants on a map, and it presents flow tests and pressure data if it's available for that particular hydrant. So going back to the city of Pinole and Victor Street, where I grew up on, if you click on, actually maybe this one is maybe closer on Victor Street. If you click it, then it shows the hydrant number, what particular zone it's in, who is the fire department that's responsible, or that the hydrant is in their jurisdiction. And then if you click on that, then it will show some hydrant flow test data. So it will show the pressures that were measured on the particular day that it was tested, and an observed flow. And this is in gallons per minute. So we've got in East Bay Mud Service area 31,000 hydrants, and approximately about a third of them have hydrant flow tests recorded. Um, like I said, this application is currently under East Bay Mud review, and we're targeting to have public access available to this website by the end of the calendar year.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Marilyn, if you could ask your question quickly, please.
I just noticed the last test date is 9/12/1996. So I'm guessing this is just because they're still developing it, I hope.
There are many that have their most recent flow dates in maybe the 90s or early 2000s. But for the most part, the system doesn't change, whether you've done the flow test 30 years ago or within the last 5 or 10 years, you're going to get very similar system conditions. We probably could do some more recent ones, but like I said, the system is not changing that much where these values are going to change substantially.
Thank you. Chris, go ahead.
Damon, quick question. The lower the pressure, the longer it takes for a fire tanker or truck to fill. And the lower pressures seem to be associated with the hills, which is where the fire is most dangerous. Are there any thoughts about how you might gain access to additional sources of water or raise the pressure in the hydrants?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that we can do is, most of these, the way that our water system is set up, we have storage tanks that supply all of our different zones, and they're pretty much at a fixed pressure. But what we can do is, if we are aware of ongoing fire, we can turn on pumps to help replenish that storage and to boost up the pressure locally in that particular area. The pressure is not going to get boosted by much more than maybe 5 or 10 psi, but maybe that is enough to help support the fire at that certain time.
Thank you very much, Damon. So the result comes by the end of the year. I would like to invite you, East Bay Mud, and some of our fire chiefs and others to have a meeting just about water pressure and water flow in early January. How is that? So you can answer all the questions, concerns, and if we need to come up with a solution for some of the concerns that are beyond the jurisdiction of East Bay Mud, we can work together and address it. So thank you so much for this, and we can't wait to see the link to the publicly available data on water flow. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
With that, I would like to ask Chief Buckman, please, to provide some information about the impact of fire breaks on insurance rates and the collaboration with CAL FIRE.
Sure. Good morning. This afternoon. Let me share my screen. So this is a screenshot of all the fuel breaks that we have done throughout Contra Costa County over the last 3 years. As we get into that, then a more detailed look of what that looks like is this picture, which shows the exact size. So the top one was in yellow, where they were pretty much just the old version. We just made 100-foot wide, really for our documentation. Some of them range 100 feet with the new CEQA exemption. If you're in the very high or high fire hazard severity zone, we can go up to 200 feet from the edge of your home. So most of the backyards we're seeing are 30 to 50 feet in length in the backyard. So that's ranging this. So then we're actually now plotting the difference of depending on what that size is. So as it varies, 50 feet, 100 feet, 175 feet, we're documenting what that is, so it provides better accuracy. The reason for this request was discussion with CAL FIRE and their system called CalMapper. And CalMapper is doing something very similar on the state level of all the state-funded field breaks that they're creating throughout the state through grants. And so we followed their format in documenting all the information. And if I move this over, you'll see that when you click on any of these, and this is in our system right now, it's not publicly available, but we're going to make it available for residents to see along with insurance companies to see. So it'll identify what's the project ID, the project name, the year it was done, total treated acres, treatment type. And then you'll go down through there and it'll say last year maintained. And the reason this is important on last year maintained is as we're doing these fuel breaks throughout the county, we're identifying, we're using Measure X dollars. The program is the Contra Costa County Wildfire Mitigation Program. But we say that this isn't something that we can come back every single year and maintain for you. We're going to help the property owners, HOAs, cities, get their properties back up in the shape that they should be by creating a field break, but then it's the property owner's responsibility to maintain that. And this dashboard is going to provide a lot of transparency on when we did that field break and when was the last time it was done. So insurance companies have identified that these fuel breaks have value to them, but they decrease in value every year that they're not maintained. So whatever that value is that they're going to enter in the algorithm, based on what your fuel model is and what the risk is for that community. Every year that has not been maintained from the year it was originally created, it's going to lose a little bit of value and not have as much, we'll say, in their whole risk model that they're doing. So another piece that we had to do, and we just submitted this off to Landfire. So Landfire is one of the agencies that provides information to insurance companies. So if I pull up here, let me go full screen on this one. So this is what our sheet looks like that we uploaded into Landfire. So Landfire wants us to document kind of similar. So it's in that same format as it is with CalMapper of what's the reference number that you can identify that. So we're calling it work order instead of grant number. And then what's the address of where it was done, along with then what city did it occur in, what was the actual type of work that was done, what was the treatment, disturbance, and type? Was it mechanical remove, mechanical add? So when it's mechanical remove, that means that we cut, chipped, and then hauled off. When it's mechanical add, that means we did mechanical work, but that they actually we either chipped and broadcasted it or left it on site. So it depends. So then you got to go over to the description and look and see what is listed on there. And was it listed as it was woody brush, chip, and hauled off? Or was it listed as we did a shaded field break behind homes, we cut woody brush, low limbs and cutting, grass and weeds, and when it's saying that we added it, that means we left it on site. So we chipped and broadcast, and then the weeds that we cut we left on site. And then the important one is what's the time and date that it was completed. So with that, then that kind of sets that benchmark of when it's been a year that if maintenance hasn't been done, then it would identify that it's going to start losing value in their risk models as they're rerunning these. So the other line is they're wanting to know only in the last year, what have we completed and when is that done? When we get our system all set up, that's why we'll be tracking the maintenance date, because with that maintenance date, it's going to maintain that value as insurance companies are looking at these to say, what is that worth and when was the last time it was maintained? So as the idea is we're uploading all this information that's within a year into Landfire for insurance companies to be able to see now as they run their new fuel models going into the next year. But then moving forward, we know we need to provide them a mechanism to identify what is that maintenance piece. So we'll be uploading those both maintenance information along with new fuel breaks that we're doing every year. And so the question is, what is that worth in insurance value? It's going to depend on the insurance company. But the insurance companies have reached out to CAL FIRE and requested this information because they said they want it in their risk models. So we are following their lead on this and doing the same thing. That's why we have our information, the maps, everything. We're following the CalMapper model and uploading this information that's going to be available. I anticipate it'll probably be first of the year that this information will be also on our website for people to look at. But know that we have submitted it off to Landfire. It was due by October 31st. We did submit it that day. We got a notice back saying that the office was closed due to the government shutdown. But when that gets back up and going, we should receive more information from them. So that's really it with the maintenance, the mapping, why we're doing it, when it should be available to insurance companies. But as far as what that value is, it's probably going to depend on the insurance companies. But I think it's good information to show transparency on where we've provided fuel breaks throughout our county, who funded them, when they were done, and who's maintaining them.
Thank you very much. Chris, if you can make it quick, please.
Sure. Chief, I think I heard you say that you made this information or will be making this information available to people in Contra Costa County.
Well, it'll be on our website, so it'll be available to anybody.
It will. Okay, great.
But
Okay.
what we've been told is that even Cal Fire said, the insurance companies don't want to have to, go to all these different websites to try and gather the information. So what we're doing is we're gathering all the, we'll say, databases that exist out there that insurance companies and these risk modelers pull from, Landfire being one of them. And we're providing them that spreadsheet. So that spreadsheet was specific to the layout of Landfire. If there's another model out there, and there are several, that is requesting the information, we'll do the same. We'll take that same spreadsheet and upload it into their database along with all the polygons, which is a GIS layer of what these fuel breaks look like. So I just showed some screenshots of what the fuel breaks look like. So when it's in a GIS layer, they could actually upload it into their system and they could view this rather than coming to our system. The reason we want to make it available is so residents can look and see where this has been done, when it's been done. And then what we're hoping it does is provide some transparency on the maintenance, that we created this fuel break. We helped the homeowners, cities, HOAs out to do this, but that then the landowners are maintaining these fuel breaks, because if they don't, they're going to lose their value in the insurance risk models.
Were there a number of organizations, Berkeley Fire Safe Council being among them, that have either submitted grants or plan to submit grants to fund fuel breaks? How can we best communicate that information to you or to whoever needs to know about it?
I would like to add to that question. Some residents have purchased goats. And also I know the city of Richmond is doing some work. How do they relay that information to you?
So we'll be updating it every year. We're going to incorporate it like our weed abatement inspections. That is, we're out and about in those areas. It's only going to take a couple minutes for an inspector to run by and look and say, yes, this has obviously been touched again and redone. Most of it's going to be grasses and weeds to identify that, yes, it looks like it did when it was completed, and we'll hit a new maintenance date. So it's going to be fairly easy in the beginning for us to maintain. We're talking about maybe even doing a self-reporting where they could submit pictures and then we could update it. But in the beginning, because we only have a couple hundred, we know that we're going to be able to maintain this through the next year or two. But if you're doing a state grant, like you had mentioned, you're applying for grants, any grant that you receive from CAL FIRE, you have to do this, and they're maintaining it through their system called CalMapper. So if you go to CalMapper today, you'll see all the grants or all the grant work that's been done throughout the Bay Area, or actually even throughout the state. And when was the last time it was maintained? And they're updating this additional information similar to the spreadsheet I showed, because that's what the insurance companies are asking for. So that's what we just did for the last year and uploaded into Landfire, so that information is current and the type of data sets that they're looking for.
Okay, thanks for the answer. This is a FEMA grant, so we won't know.
I'm sorry, we don't have time for that. We can go offline. Feel free to send an email. I'll be happy to share it with the chief, but we need to address other issues. So Chief Buckman, I assume, will be informed when it's publicly available, right?
That's correct.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And sorry for cutting you off, Chris, but just want to make sure we receive all the reports and updates. And if there's extra time, we'll come back to this. So, Michelle, I'm sorry that I listed you as a member of Berkeley Fire Safe Council. I understand you're with Help Berkeley. If you could please, and I know you've been very active going to Sacramento about hearings for Zone 0. If you could provide brief report on the discussions in Sacramento and how it's going.
So, Hyla, thank you very much for inviting me over here. I'll make this very brief, but I also left my contact information in the chat. And so anybody can reach out to me by phone or by email, and I'll be happy to update you directly. We have been involved or participating in those meetings since essentially the beginning of the year, since they restarted under a new committee. The regulations were passed in 2020, and it was supposed to, the law AB 3074 was passed in 2019 to be effective 2020, I believe. This was supposed to, the regulations to enforce them were supposed to have been passed many years ago. It didn't happen. They restarted a committee at the beginning of the year, and the governor passed an executive order that required all regulations to be in place and effective by December 31st, 2025. The deliberations of the committee have been extremely slow. The progress have been as well, very slow as well. Originally, early on, most fire departments considered that the outcome was going to be preordained and was going to follow strict Zone 0 requirements. It turns out that the committee has very significantly drifted away from the original expectations of the fire departments and maybe of some CAL FIRE members. We have found a progressive drift from strict Zone 0 requirements that started around April this year. Around April, my organization started an unofficial, I would say, network of wildfire organization around the state that has approximately 200 people receiving our emails right now, represents between 150 and 170 different groups. And we have proposed at multiple times a specific language to the committee. We have approximately 25 people participating in the language proposals. The last meeting, which was on November 3rd, Monday last week, was extremely significant because for the first time, we have heard the expected schedule for the committee, but also what the committee is expecting to propose to the board of forestry. And some of this is positive and some of this is negative. First, the schedule. They're going to miss the December schedule. They're now thinking that their full regulations after the 45-day comment period will only be effective towards the end of the first quarter of 2026. But thanks to a new bill that was signed by the governor in, I want to say October, which is AB 1455, they will be able to pass this legislation as an emergency regulation. The drawback, which means it becomes effective immediately, the drawback for this is that it has to be revisited at the legislative level within a year, which means we're going to be facing further discussions in the upcoming year to again finalize those regulations. Hopefully, it will be less of an issue. So there's been incredible pushback from people who are opposed to strict Zone 0. First from the Bay Area, but now primarily from Southern California, specifically LA County. There's an organized opposition from LA County, which is well coordinated by several organizations, one of which, regrettably, is a wildfire-focused organization. The intentions of the department as announced, of the committee as announced at the meeting, is that they are interested in what they called option 1 and 2 for vegetation and option 1 for trees. Option 1 for trees is a strict Zone 0 or largely strict Zone 0. Option 1 for vegetation is strict Zone 0 and fully science supported. Option 2 for vegetation is less science supported, but right now the way it's written is essentially unenforceable for fire departments, and it allows ground cover all the way up to the structure through Zone 0. We are going to propose today or tomorrow language for option 2, which will make this more enforceable, that has been reviewed by both wildfire scientists as well as a certain number of fire chiefs, and which people consider to be essentially the most enforceable way that option 2 can be dealt with effectively by fire departments. The last thing that we heard, and that's extremely regrettable, is that in April, the committee had talked about potentially allowing new combustible fences within Zone 0. We had worked very hard to shut this down. The last meeting, the two of the three members came back to this idea and said they were really interested in supporting, in enabling the use of combustible fences within Zone 0 for the primary purpose of promoting the use of forestry products. As you know, the Board of Forestry has, by law, 3 lobbyists for the logging industry as part of that board. I have not met a single fire organization that believes this is a reasonable assumption. I had a prepared statement. I immediately shucked it and spoke for 3 minutes against that option at the meeting. And the chairman immediately answered back and said, look, my mind is not made up. I am willing to hear, and I'm influenced by what you're saying. So please keep on talking about this. But it is by no means certain that it will not embody legislation that includes this idea. And so I urgently recommend that any organization that you represent and any of the firefighting organizations that are within your local neighborhood actually intervene with respect to the Zone 0, the CAL FIRE Zone 0 Commission, to represent why combustible fences will be incredibly nefarious. So as far as this is concerned, altogether, it still is a good development because for the first time, we have a good feeling of where the board is going. It's not quite as good as we would want, but it's not so bad either. The last thing that I will mention is that AB 1455 already allowed something that came totally under the radar and that we believe was proposed by LA County directly through the Office of the Governor. It basically allows any local jurisdiction to self-certify different alternative methods that essentially absolve them from the need of following strict Zone 0 or whatever regulations the state will require at the Board of Forestry level, which means that already there's a fait accompli that any local jurisdiction such as LA County can decide to abstain itself from the requirements of state Zone 0. Unfortunate, but there's nothing we can do at this time.
Thank you very much for an excellent report. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your activism. If you could send me an email, I'll pass it around to the agencies we know. I think we can even ask the local firefighters union to write about it. We'll do our best. Thank you. If there are no suggestions or questions on this, I would like to ask everyone to please think about how we fire safe councils can become a little stronger. We have excellent connections with the community. We work very hard, but we do not have the resources that we need. We're rarely at the table when policies are made. I have the privilege of sitting at some tables as a city council member, but I wouldn't be there if I wasn't a city council member. So how can we get more budget? How can we have a place at the table? I don't expect an answer right now, but this is very important for us, especially from those of you who have worked long with the agencies. We need your advice. We need your suggestion. We are the Alliance. We are several fire safe councils. We're doing our best. I mean, East Bay Wildfire Coalition of Government is here in place because of the grassroots activism of fire safe councils in the area. We work very hard, yet we don't get the budget we deserve to help homeowners, for example, with home hardening, with Zone 0, and we don't have the voice as strong as we deserve when it comes to policy making. So if any suggestions you can share now, if not, please think about it and share with me, and we appreciate that very much. John, if you can make your report quick, yeah, please go ahead. You have a couple of minutes to report and we appreciate it. John Kaufman.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sohila, for what you're doing. The East Bay Coalition of Governments, which is working on wildfire prevention throughout the west side of the hills, has authorized the development of a communications strategy and plan to inform everyone on the west side of the hills about Zone 0, about home hardening and defensible space. and Susan and I are working on that, developing a plan, looking for consultants to work on that, and we're working with the two wildfire coordinators, the county officials from both Alameda and Contra Costa County, to put all that together. Secondly, this Sunday, the Claremont Canyon Conservancy is having our annual meeting. The key speaker will be Colin Allred, who will be talking about Zone Zero. It's at the Claremont Hotel at 4 o'clock. The meeting is open not only to the members of the Conservancy, but anyone who's interested in attending that meeting.
Thank you, John. Any suggestions for empowering fire safe councils at this point? Or should we wait for your emails? Or please reach out, share your ideas. With that, we go to the reports and updates on fuel reduction and vegetation management. We can start with East Bay Mud, please.
Thank you, Sohila. This is Scott Hill from East Bay Mud. I don't have anything new to report. I can recap, what we're doing adjacent to West County. As Chief Bachman said, the efficacy of a fuel break is really contingent upon it being maintained on an annual basis. And that's pretty much the mode that we're in when it comes to anything on the watershed that's near West County. We don't have any new fuel break construction underway, but we have fuel breaks in place that we've maintained for many, many seasons, this not being any exception. That work was completed earlier on in the fire season. It primarily consisted of disking along Carriage Hills, the development north and south, the home development, Carriage Hills north and south, as well as along Castro Ranch Road, Pinole Valley Road, and Alhambra Valley Road, adjacent to both sides of the road to prevent a roadside ignition from moving into the watershed. And then throughout those watersheds, the primary fuel reduction tool is grazing, livestock grazing, where the annual grasses are grazed down to a safe level. And throughout those roads, throughout the fire roads and those grazing allotments, they're maintained annually. The roads are graded down to mineral soil to both act as a fire break and help facilitate containment if there is an ignition in the allotment, as well as to provide safe ingress for first responders, wildland firefighters. In addition to the grading of the roads, the roadside on both sides of the fire roads are maintained. The vegetation is cut back for 10 feet on each side to ensure safe ingress. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Scott. East Bay Regional Park District.
Yeah, how's it going? Update I have is a project funded by the California Fire Safe Council. It was $100,000 from the council and $100,000 match from the district. And do I have the ability to share here? Share
Yes.
amount?
Yes.
So I'll talk to save some time. So this is a project that is in Wildcat. Here, give me a second. Share. Okay. And so this is Wildcat Canyon, Alvarado. We have permitted areas called recommended tribute areas. It is in WC005. The street reference for that is, it's Alvarado Park, and it's near this orange area is where the project work is occurring. That's off of Park Avenue. And over here on the Alvarado area in North Arlington, you see there's project work going on over there. That work started this month, and it should be completed in November, depending on weather. And so that is a new project update. And then just so everybody, I think most people are aware, I've been presenting a lot about it, but we did receive a lot of grants. And for the next 2.5 years, we're going to be very busy completing those grants. And we're also at the same time focused on retaining the work that was completed from the previous project. So it's two things going on doing the new projects, what we call initial treatment, and now focusing on maintaining areas that were previously treated. End of my report.
Thank you very much. If you could email this to me, that'd be great with the legend for the colors. And we hope that West Contra Costa receives some fuel breaks and eucalyptus reductions out of the grants. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
PG&E, please. PG&E lists, could you please unmute?
Yep, sorry. Hi, good afternoon. PG&E has nothing to report at this time.
Okay, thank you. We hope that you will have something to report next time. Caltrans, do we have someone from Caltrans today? I know they're updating their vegetation map. No report from Caltrans, I guess. Confire and County Public Works. We hope you have a report because evacuation routes are very important to us. Who's sharing this screen? Oh, Chief Buckman, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so new item to report on mitigation. In fact, we have a contractor out there again today, is known as Windy Flats on San Pablo. It's about a 2.2 acre area. I believe it had over 30 people on it that were transients in that large encampment. There's been multiple fires on that location. We had to deal with CEQA and get approval. So we've had biologists out on site when we've been doing mitigation work. Today's the third day we've been out there. I believe we're going to finish in this area today unless Corn H3 doesn't get the last of the unhoused out of that small section. But if they do, then the contractor should finish that area today. I also know they're removing the debris. Phase 2 is going to go from that location down to the church of El Portal Church, running along I-80. So it'll kind of run along San Pablo Creek, but I know there's some issues that we're not going to be able to mitigate the whole area because of San Pablo Creek and some restrictions in that watershed area. But that'll be phase 2 that will be starting. Another area that was identified as a hazard was 4113 Mifflin Avenue. There was a vacant house on that. I believe there's been 2 different fires that have occurred. We worked with County DCD and was able to tag the house, red tag it, and then abate the vegetation around it. And then actually the county paid for and actually removed the structure. And then they're going to, I believe, lien the taxes to pay for that abatement. So that house has been removed, that avenue, or on 4113 Mifflin Avenue, which is right along this section as well. So I know there's a lot of concerned residents that live along San Pablo Dam Road and in this area. And we'll say we have 2 of the 3 projects, and the last one will be phase 2 that hopefully will be starting in the next couple weeks. End of my report.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there have been some major fires in that area. Thank you very much for addressing it. And for your information, we have submitted a request to County Public Works for clearing eucalyptus trees along San Pablo Dam Road, which is a major evacuation route. And we hope to follow up with them and with your office. Thank you again. Is there anyone from County Public Works here today? No? Richmond Public Works?
Yeah, Sahila, thank you. I have one quick update. I was able to secure funding for 3 of vital pieces of equipment for our weed abatement programming. They're remote mowers that are going to allow us to get into the more difficult terrain areas where we're doing a lot of manual weed abatement. And those funds have been secured, and I will be taking that item to council on December 2nd. So that is my update.
Excellent. That is good news. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Pinot Public Works, anyone? No? Okay. And I see Chief Scott from Chevron. I'm sorry, I missed your name because we missed you at some of the meetings. If you're here, would you like to provide a report on your vegetation management? Okay. Moving to the next item, and we only have a few minutes. I'll try to make it quick. We would like to ask for everyone's input, as we are asking for some procedure. You heard some of it during the presentation by East Bay Regional Parks District, that we are asking no access to trails, and there was a suggestion that from Berkeley Fire Safe Council that it should be during particular dangerous situations. We would like to ask cities to close parks that have barbecue facility on red flag days, ban fireworks and smoking in parks on those days. We would like to say red flag days, but maybe particularly dangerous situations. We believe that it is essential for raising public awareness.
My 1 o'clock.
Any suggestion, especially from our fire chiefs? Do you think it's effective? Do you think it's needed? Should we pursue it? Should we focus on such issues?
I wanted to chime in real quick. So the Park District has a fire danger operating plan, and we already restrict certain activities during high fire danger days. So for example, obviously there's no smoking, but there's no driving off road. There's no operating machinery. There's no using a barbecue, charcoal. If you do use a barbecue, it has to be in a designated area, and it has to be gas fed, so it can be controlled and turned off immediately. And we restrict the type of behaviors that cause fires during high fire danger days. That way, we still can have a public park be public and accessible to people who do want to go hiking and things like that. And at the same time, we can keep our parks safe by restricting the activities from humans that cause wildfires. So that's what we do internally at the Park District to make sure our parks are safe during those high fire danger days.
Thank you. We need to follow up on that. Any other comments or suggestions? Marilyn, quickly, please.
I just wanted to say that I think enforcement is part of the problem, as I'm sure Fire Chief Hele would agree. Because as a dog walker, I'm always running into piles of cigarettes in August and September and October. And they're always in the same place, but a mystery as to who is doing this smoking and dropping cigarettes. So I just want to say that perhaps a campaign next year where people can call and report hotspots might be helpful. I know that it's really interesting how localized they are. It's probably just one person, in fact. So I just want to say that's part of the issue.
Thank you. And Sue said that fireworks are illegal in Contra Costa, but we would like to request heavy fines on those days. As Marilyn mentioned, the issue is enforcement. I wonder if you have anyone. I know Chief Osorio from Richmond Fire Department said they're at the funeral today, the entire fire department, and couldn't attend. But do we have anyone from El Cerrito Fire Department here to discuss the Vista Heights secondary emergency exit route? Okay. Emergency exit routes are a major issue, and we reached out to Senator Jesse Oregon's office, who is the chair of Public Safety Committee, and asked to consider it as sort of eminent domain. Oh, actually, sorry, Buffy Vick's office asked it to be considered something like eminent domain, that the owner cannot refuse access to save lives in case of a public emergency, and we'll keep you posted. We hope it becomes a policy. Next item is evacuation routes and fire trails clearings. In general, we would like to ask Confire and County Public Works and Richmond Public Works Fire Departments, everyone, how does it go? How often do you inspect those routes, or should we submit requests to Measure X? We are not clear on the concept of how it's done.
So any route that we do, it doesn't need done yearly, but we do evaluate them from year after year. Obviously, a lot of this is coming from concerns of residents or even our companies that are out on these roads every day, identifying when they need done. The evacuation routes are also going to be listed in that fuel break because we essentially say that that's another break that can be used to identify if a fire is coming up, that if you've reduced that fuel on the road and then you have your roadway, that is considered a fuel break. So we'll be identifying those as well. So it'll show the last time that that's been maintained or updated. But because these evacuation routes, it depends. Is it mostly grasses that need done annually, or is it vegetation that we're limbing up and clearing back because they're overhanging into the road? As far as identifying evacuation routes, if you're going to say specific evacuation routes, I know there's been a lot of discussion around that. So everybody's fire code ordinance that's getting updated is going to allow that ability in the fire code, but it's got to be done on the local level per jurisdiction. It isn't just the fire department's responsibility. It's not just the police department's responsibility. It's a group effort that needs to be done. And as mentioned in the East Bay Wildfire Coalition meeting, we want to make sure there's public meetings, outreach, and public comment. So it isn't just going to be an agency identifying these are evacuation routes and you can't park on them or here's the restrictions. It needs to be a formal process and it's going to have to be done at the local level. So if there's areas you're concerned about and everybody's fire code is updated as written in Contra Costa County as a template, and all the fire marshals met on this to have consistency, it would allow that ability locally to pursue that through a formal process of implementing a true evacuation plan and identifying what those evacuation routes are. But that would be many stakeholders would be involved in that. It's not just the fire department.
Could you please advise how we go about it? Are you going to get together and do it, or should we initiate such collaborative effort of agencies to identify those evacuation routes?
Well, it needs to start because how it was worded is it's got to be adopted by the local governing body. So if you're going to pursue this, you need to make sure that you have your city councils on board and that they're going to support this measure and this movement. Are you just going to identify evacuation routes, or are you going to identify evacuation routes with parking restrictions? And honestly, you should involve meetings, public outreach, input from the communities, areas this is going to impact. We've had some of our cities that I serve over have said, they support this, but not parking restrictions. So they just want to identify what the evacuation routes are for education. Other cities have mentioned they're interested in certain routes being restricted. So it's going to be up to that local jurisdiction, the local governing body, to start with to make sure what is your city council in support of, and how are you gathering this information? How did you identify where these evacuation routes are? What's the population served? Are there issues that you're going to run into that they don't have cars, or that there's mobility issues if they have to park 2 blocks away from their car? So I think that there's a full study that's going to need to be done if you're going to implement restricted parking as part of the evacuation route, or are you just looking to identify the evacuation routes in those cities?
Thank you very much. I would like to ask you how we can do that in El Sobrante Valley, where the city and county are both involved. And I see Marilyn has a question, but I'm sorry, it's 1 p.m. and I always promise to end on time because we value your time and we'd like you to look forward to coming the next meeting, knowing it's only 1 hour of your time. I sincerely appreciate everyone's collaboration and your time and reports and everything. Thank you so much. And I'll be in touch, and let's all be in touch by email until the next meeting. Thanks, Chief Buckman. I'll follow up on this subject by email. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.